So there's a couple of janky people that live down in Slow. Where I was going down to school. So I had a mutual friend with some of them. Like one of my friends from Cal Poly had camped with them. And that's how I got connected to two people from Janky, Cat and Callum. And then I remember I was just like, I think I emailed them because I saw that they were doing renovations on the barge. And I just reached out and was like, hey, like, do you guys want volunteers? Because I know how to use some power tools. And yeah, just started helping out with them. Went out with them for my first official Burning Man and had the best time. Like really amazing group of humans, just very kind, welcoming. They do Burning Man right. You know, everyone's like taking care of themselves and radical self-reliance in the best way.
I keep hearing that from so many directions.
But several of them are passion.
Well,
he seems really trustworthy, though.
Yeah, he does.
I was hanging out with him during Burn Night because we were all on top of the barge this last year, and I was giving him shit because I was like, you want an accuracy third, and you listed all the camps in our village except us? He forgot us.
It's not his job.
Caleb's here to set the record straight.
But I remember just listening to that episode and being like, oh, sweet, a janky person. And then he's like,
you motherfucker.
Like, we got Camp Butter and Diablo Gators. And it's like, oh, you didn't mention Teatime.
Oh, Teatime.
we were rushing him through his notes.
Yeah.
Welcome to Accuracy Third. I'm Beth.
I'm D-Day.
I'm Rex, and I don't have a blunt. I was promised a blunt. That is a blunt.
So today we've got Caleb in the studio with us. Caleb is going to tell us about his project that he brought to Burning Man in 2024. Caleb built this eye sculpture called Perception. Eye like the thing in your head, not like
the letter I that you make beams out of by stacking one next to each other.
Exactly.
Oh, I do remember this. I do eyeball.
Mm-hmm. And this year's Seven Sisters, our listeners will find out what that means as they listen to this episode. Lucky for you, listeners. But you won't hear much about the Susurrus, which we've talked about already in our Afterburn episode from 2024. But our patrons, our beloved patrons, you can hear us talking about the Susurrus and talking while Beth goes to the bathroom and mixes a drink for a while and making fun of her a bit while she's not in the room. Good for us and good for you for supporting our podcast.
Nobody will be making fun of anybody for not knowing the actual name of that art project. We've mentioned it once. Now it is whatever we call it.
I think we called it the right thing in the episode as well. I may have cut it out. I don't know. I don't care. Beautiful art. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this show. It is late as fuck in Oakland, California. I'm tired. You're listening to this podcast first thing in the morning. You're all excited. Is it a Tuesday morning? Is it a Wednesday morning? Who knows when we release this? Hey, you're looking pretty good today. I hope you have a good day at work.
Man, nobody's listening to this first thing in the morning. Who does laundry first thing in the morning?
Do you not pay attention to our Discordians talking about our show, like within minutes of it being released? Join us on Discord. We're having fun on Discord. This is Caleb.
What do you mean the intro was rushed?
I would like to just point out this reality of the difference of when we record. Like, maybe it's a tad bit late for middle-aged father who put kid to bed and other middle-aged burner who had 3 hours of meetings.
3.5.
After 5 p.m.
That was almost half my workday.
Yeah, Beth, I went to work today. I made 2.5 pieces of art. I set my hand and my foot on fire for no less than 25 seconds today.
Rex.
And now,
is that why it smells like
podcasting.
candles outside?
Jesus Christ.
No, that's
Rex.
the candle wax.
Holy shit. Like, this is actually kind of terrifying.
And that was Caleb.
It's just so scary. D-Day is trying to light this
Wet fire.
wet wood with the blowtorch, right? Like shooting gas, you light it with a spark thing in front of it, correct?
This one has one internal to it.
An internal spark thing. Well, that might have been the problem. I'm already quite stoned.
See, Beth admits that she was the problem because she was already quite stoned.
The internal lighter might have been the issue because the entire front of this thing burst into flames.
In my hand.
Yes, in his fucking hand.
In my good hand, which I didn't carve up a little bit with my grinder today. That's the other hand.
Man, you can really tell that you were a country boy and a D-Malay and not a Cub Scout. Because
I was a D-Malay.
You are forever putting all that accelerant on,
I got two eyes, though, bro.
that could just be lit if you made a nice little teepee.
It was wet.
So this is what myself and Phoenix were talking about, where it's like you could just build a fire. That's also very masculine to like make a fire go without all the fucking blowtorches.
Which I will
and
do when I'm a
candle
bitch ass
wax.
without tools.
But Jesus Christ, this thing lit on fire, and I had no idea how much accelerant was in it. And like it was
And then I handled it coolly and collectedly the way that I have every other time I've lit myself on fire.
just ground it into the dirt.
Very slowly take the canister off without burning your hand much.
I was like down on the cement, and afterwards D-Day's like, why'd you move so far away?
Beth did not protect me at all. I want that to enter into the record.
I told you to throw it the fuck away from you.
Yeah, well, and toward the concrete where it might rupture.
I was moving away from the gas canister on fire and telling you to remove it from your body.
On fire, like our hot new young friend Caleb. Camp Daddy.
So, Caleb, you brought us these stickers. Perception and real cute mushroom-headed gnome with his butt out. What is Perception and this butt gnome about?
So the butt gnome is a sticker for our camp, Once Upon a Teatime. That's a camp I started last year with some friends and my partner. We were a iced matcha latte camp. So our whole gift to Playa was giving out iced matcha lattes, and the whole theme was like whimsical, fairy tale themed. Those stickers, my brother's fiance, who's a graphic designer, she designed for us. So shout out to Emma for designing these amazing stickers. They're very popular at the Burn this year.
They are incredible
cute.
stickers. I'm maybe having a little bit of a hard time connecting the dots between mushroom-headed Castro dude and matcha latte, but I suppose.
As a former hot beverage professional.
Context.
There's no real connection to matcha lattes and mushroom. So the story behind Once Upon a Teatime kind of comes from Elizabeth, my partner. She was, we're out on Playa, our first actual Burning Man. And she was like, I just want a matcha latte because she doesn't drink coffee. And all the caffeine spots in Black Rock City are coffee pretty much. Mm-hmm. So we're like, I want to have matcha latte. So then when we were thinking about like, what should we do for a theme camp? We're like, let's do a matcha latte one. And then when we wanted to figure out the theme for the decor and everything, we just ended up doing fairy tales and gnomes and elves and stuff.
And like hardcore gay porn.
No, the cheeky gnome was just kind of just a funky little guy.
So, sometimes the gnome just suggests himself.
The thing I really like about your theme camp is you are providing literally the only kind of latte I like. I like a matcha latte. I don't like a coffee latte or any other of the tea lattes.
So how long did it take you to be, leading a theme camp?
We are talking about my appreciation of lattes, Beth, and you just pivot?
Yeah, I pivot.
All right. So about your camp.
Yeah. How long did it take you in the Burning Man world before you're leading a theme camp?
It was my third burn.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And one of those burns was maybe a little unofficial?
Yeah. So my first burn was the Renegade burn.
Great.
And then second burn, I was with Janky Barge.
Oh, right.
Passion was on the show.
yeah.
And then after being with Janky Barge, we're like, let's start our own camp. And we're still in the village with Janky, but we just brought our own friends in and made our own little camp. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. That's actually a really great recommendation for the way that they're doing villages now, that they're trying to
Spawn off theme camps?
spawn off theme camps that in a way that allows to share resources that need servicing, like generators.
Talking about them hubs.
And the hubs.
Yeah, technically there are no villages anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Oh, when did that happen? When did I ignore that happen?
I don't know. Do you want to go complain about it on Reddit?
No.
Last year.
I don't.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, good for us.
Villages are now hubs. What was village, now hub?
Why? I don't care, but
So
why?
the reason I heard, or like the logic this is like some Redditors arguing about it, was basically that they think there was probably too many camps sort of like coasting along inside of villages and getting good placement without really offering any interactivity, just because they're part of a village.
Oh, I didn't realize that it was putting like a placement on like, hey, you all need to be doing something. You need to be a standalone camp.
Yeah,
you can share resources, but you need to be a standalone.
So now it used to be like our first year as Teatime, we, just told the village we wanted to be it, and the village applied for like the statement of intent or whatever. Now every camp within a village has to apply separately, and then you can say, hey, we're in a hub and we want to be placed together. But I guess that's the difference, basically.
What? Do you have any feels about it?
No, I don't feel strong about it. Like,
you're brand new to this shit. Why would you care?
Yeah, I think like village is a better name than hub. But
Yeah.
So I hope they go back to calling it villages just because it's a better word for it.
Now,
But-
every time we change a definition of something, we got to put a new fucking term on top of it.
I think you're totally free to call yourself a village.
Yeah. And so our village, I don't know what we're called now, Jazzy Cat Butts, I think.
Jazzy Cat Butts Village, the hub.
Yeah. But I mean, mostly we just wanted to all stick with, all these friends and communal
all of
camps.
these cool other
Yeah,
camps.
exactly.
Yeah. So 3 years, I like a very, let's call it an active burner, someone who within 3 years has made themselves indispensable to a tremendous number of people and going out there. Why did you do that? Why did you put so much energy into this thing that you went and did?
I mean, why does anyone get, involved with the Burning Man stuff? It's just, I feel like you get out there and you see you're given so much and you receive so much that you want to give back. And then you realize that when you do start like bringing your own projects and giving back and you get the appreciation for that, that's even more fun than just being a participant.
Ooh, it's a virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
How did you
exactly.
find it? What did you start giving that really fed that for you?
So, I mean, I feel like my relationship with gifting began, I feel like as a lot of people do, where you start off and you hear about gifting and you want to bring like little, trinkets and stuff. And
Everybody loves a gewgaw.
And so I remember like when I went to the Renegade burn, I like laser cut out a bunch of little like pins and I think some pendants and stuff. And then giving those out and people like appreciate it and they're like, oh, this is so cute. I'm going to put this on my whatever,
On my studio, usually.
Now I think realizing like much love to the people who make their little trinkets and stuff. And I won't say I'm never going to make those again, but I have realized like, once you've received like 10 little medallions, you kind of are like, okay, this is enough. I can't wear all this at once.
Really Mardi Gras your neck. At Burning Man.
Exactly. And then I started realizing like, oh, gifting is much bigger than just like small items and it can be, whole on projects and stuff. So
I think that's obviously true and kind of the beating pulse of this whole culture. But I think there's, once you have that realization, it creates the space for small physical gifts to regain some value if you make few very beautiful ones and give them out at the right moment.
yeah, in 22, so this is my first official Burning Man. My gift that year, I wanted to make a lot more of them, but due to time constraints, I only made a handful. So because the theme was waking dreams and like Inception's one of my favorite movies, the top from Inception that he spins. So I made like a version of that top that was like cast in resin, but I designed it so it had like facets. So it would land on one side that had like a letter facing up. So it was I called it like a divination top where you could like spin it and ask it a question and it would give you like an answer sort of.
Oh, nice.
Does that make sense?
I love dice as Burning Man presents. I love Burning Man presents that direct you in a direction. Like, I feel like that there's something more to it when it is also being like, but yeah, pay attention and like do a thing.
Yeah, I got from the Black Rock Station that one of their fundraiser perks was a set of playa pilots, they called them. But it was basically dice you'd roll and it gave you like a clock time and a letter. So you could roll it and go to where it says. I've never used them because I always forget I have them and I'm always doing other things. But
Well, that's really like letting whimsy guide you is really a year 5 thing.
I thought I had some here, but these are covered in mysterious symbols rather than
actual addresses.
Yeah. They do have a QR code on them, so
You might be able to figure out what they mean.
who knows? How did you end up at the Renegade burn of all burns for your first burn?
so it was kind of like a long time coming, I'd say. So, I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area, grew up in a somewhat like religious conservative family. So it definitely wasn't like interacting with burners in like a direct way. But I mean, I'm born in 97. So by the time I'm a kid, like Burning Man is in like the cultural zeitgeist. You just hear about it as this like thing going out in the
You
desert.
learned about it on The Simpsons.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think the first time I remember like hearing someone talk to me about Burning Man, like, and learned a little more about it was when I was in high school. Like, I had a coworker when I was lifeguarding was like, telling me about how he was going to go to Burning Man with his girlfriend's family, and they've been going for years, and they go every year. And he's like, yeah, it's like there's no money out there, and you know, everything is just gifting, and there's all this art and music and stuff. And I remember that was the first time I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. But then, you know, sort of went back mind for several years until in college. I had a friend who, I don't remember what spurned it, but he was just showing me, my friend Weston, just showing me a bunch of pictures of like installations, and he'd never been. I don't think he's even been yet, but he was showing me pictures of installations and like art cars. And I studied engineering, loved architecture. So I think the installations were like what really drew me to it, because I mean, installation art it's so special, and there's something really magical about being able to like step inside something that people have built, and it like gives you a whole, you know, little perspective, or it can tell a story. So I think the installation art is what really attracted me to Burning Man.
You wanted to go walk around some dangerous tall shit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that it's still that facet of the event is still a pull for people like you, because we need people like you to build that kind of art.
Yeah.
To
Yeah,
keep
exactly.
Bringing in people like you. It's a virtuous cycle.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was 2018 when I like was first like really turned on to it in that way. And then, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Burning Man at some point. And then 2018, I was studying abroad and like got back to the States right before the event. So it was just wasn't going to happen. And then 2019, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Burning Man this year. And then tried to get tickets, couldn't get tickets. And then, you know, this is like,
Glad that problem is solved.
exactly. I really am glad.
Me too.
I hope this scarcity is over, because it is kind of shitty in that, like, now, you know, like once you are plugged into the community, you realize there are always tickets. There were always tickets. You just had to, you know, talk to people and
Yeah, but
connect,
that
but-
is asking for a lot from people that we want there, like people who are
Already planning to
engineers
go.
or potentially isolated or potentially don't know these folks, the people
Yeah.
that we want to bring in. It's hard to get those folks there when it's extremely hard to get
You
tickets.
should work on your project all year and start rolling the ticket dice as often as possible from July through the beginning of August, hoping that your dice hits.
Ugh.
But so at 2019, then I tried main sale, didn't get it, and it was kind of just like, well, I don't know what to do. I think I remember trying to buy secondhand tickets and almost got scammed a couple times, and that really turned me off of it.
Good job not getting scammed.
Yeah.
That's what I hope the end of
Yeah.
scarcity really results in is
That you
the
can
secondary
get scammed.
market
Yeah.
just collapses.
Now the secondary market buys up all the tickets, sells them to us at 300 or 400% the ticket price.
Yeah. So then 2019, but basically starting then, that's when I started to like heavily research the event. And like, you know, started reading the subreddit. Probably was starting to listen to you guys at that point, because I listened to you guys before I ever went out there.
High five. Nice.
That is really sweet. It's
Best
very
podcast
nice
about
to-
Burning Man.
Aw.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Low bar.
But
We are the bar.
yeah, so 2019, I, you know, couldn't get tickets, was like dreaming about going, didn't end up going because I just couldn't figure out how to make it happen.
How old were you in 2019? Just because you're young.
I would have been 22.
Yeah. Get in there at 22.
Yeah.
So you went for the first time at 24?
Yeah, 24.
For a Renegade, too. That's so much more daring, honestly, in my opinion. I wanted
Beth,
to go.
he's
but I
an
was-
engineer.
Yeah, but I was kind of scared. And I'd been out to Burning Man tons of times.
Yeah, so I think like in 2020, I graduated right before COVID and got a job, you know, right before, like basically a month before the lockdowns. And one of my coworkers was like a longtime burner, man crew, like very involved.
What is their name?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's a good name.
It is.
Are they an engineer?
He's also he's an engineer. I guess because I think he's more on the project management side of where I was working now, but he's
Precision is still important.
but he's been man crew for a long time and is part of Mansonian Institute.
Mansonian.
So starting in 2020, I was like, I've got it. I've got the connections. I'm definitely going in 2020. And then like 2 months later is lockdowns and
yeah.
events canceled. But then, you know, after the 2020 Renegade happened, I heard about it, or I saw things on like probably social media and stuff. And I was like, oh, people just went out there anyway,
They did it.
you know?
Yep, they did it anyway.
Yeah. Which
Yep.
2020 was, I feel like, I mean, I don't know if I want to get into whole like COVID politics sort of stuff, but I feel like 2021, by that time, by summer 2021, it was like we were all vaccinated. There were like major events happening. I got why the event was canceled because obviously they didn't know it would be at that point by the end of summer.
Yeah, that was maybe the toughest decision anybody at Burning Man ever had to make.
Well, they only had to listen to the indigenous people who didn't want us driving through their land once.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
also the case.
But then, so in 2021, I was like, I got a bunch of friends together and we're like, hey, let's go out there. We're just camping. Like I told them all, like, we're not going to Burning Man. We're going camping on the playa. It's just BLM land. You can camp there or 14 days or whatever. So I think it was 11 of us and it was 9 virgins and 1 person who'd been once before. And I was kind of like, became the unofficial like camp daddy because I just had been like obsessively researching Burning Man and knew how to do everything. We like my partner and I built our hex yurt that summer. And yeah, so we had like hex yurts, a couple tents and an RV just so we'd have a bathroom. Drove out there on like, I think it was Wednesday. We got there Wednesday night just after sundown and you just had like the time of our lives. It was, incredible. It was, the Renegade burn was so special. It's hard to describe. Like, I feel like, and a lot of things were missing from it that you'd have at the regular event, obviously, like the big installations, porta potties, the man.
Big burns.
Big burns.
The population density.
Exactly. And it was, but I feel like it was a very interesting way, especially as a younger person, to sort of like see what it was like maybe in the 90s or early 2000s.
How did it change you?
How did it change me? Ooh, I feel like...
Leading question, Beth.
I feel like it really instilled like the radical self-reliance. Because I feel like the Renegade burn, you were like really self-reliant.
Alone, yeah.
Like you didn't know, like you had an idea that there'd be people out there, but you didn't know what to expect at all. And also like, there's no porta potties, so you got to really figure out your own business.
There's not
Shit in a
even
bucket.
There's not the people camped next to you to
Stop you from shitting in a bucket in front of them.
to dull the wind.
Yeah.
Like the city is a windbreak. People who haven't been out there for setup week don't get it, but like before Black Rock City is there, the winds are nightmarish.
My nice brand new canvas tent ripped on my cardboard boxes of beer.
But I don't think any of the Renegade burns had terrible weather.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the factors that made it, I think, as relatively successful as it was that like when we got there Wednesday, there was a little bit of wind, but now I know that was like not
Nothing.
wind.
Yeah.
But really, it was like very nice weather the entire time we were there. It was weird because it was extremely smoky. There was all the Tahoe fires going on.
God.
So it was a little extra dystopian looking because you had all this like, those like red skies at sunset. And
We've had even closer fires than that during Burning Man, where there'd be like a wave of just dark red dust ash coming over
like a
us.
couple miles away on 447.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think because of all the smoke, I was feeling fine about there not being any actual burns because I feel like
Right. That sounds
like,
awful.
yeah, I was
now.
like, we don't need to add more smoke to the air right now.
Yeah, everything already smells like wind smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was really cool just seeing like everyone come together without, there was like a map basically you could put your pin on, but there wasn't really any organization. But it was just cool seeing that like, oh, these people have been doing this for so long that they know they have their systems so dialed that like they can kind of just show up and do it. It was really special. I think
That's an incredible way to start. What was the big change when you came to your first like official with a fence and a real permit kind of Burning Man?
I was like just beyond excited to get there finally. And because I feel like I'd heard so much about the city and like being able to look down the street and see the man and like orient yourself. And I feel like I'd heard so much about it that actually being there and being on like the city streets and being able to go to Esplanade, I was just like so full of excitement and like thrilled to be there. But then of course, there were like aspects of 22 that I didn't like as much.
It's really hot.
For one, the weather was like pretty rough.
Yeah, the heat and the dust that year were legendarily bad.
But then also I feel like there was some aspects of the real burn, or I would say like Burning Man versus Renegade burn, that, there was also just like, I feel like people go into Burning Man with a lot higher expectations, and a lot more of like almost like a schedule of things they want to do. So I feel like
you had only been with the cream of the crop. You'd only been with the folks who are fuck it, this is what we do. And then you meet the tourists.
yeah. So overall, I feel like the vibes at the Renegade Burn, it was much more concentrated. People of like, we're just here to be here and to be part of the community. We're not here for like the flashy art and like for the giant art cars. Like I remember at the Renegade Burn, Robot Heart was like the biggest thing out there, you know, and now Robot Heart, it's kind of like, you know,
It's over there.
it's big,
Yeah.
but it's like,
Yeah,
it's not even the biggest art car by any means.
It's
you know?
not the gigantic ugly thing that plays terrible music.
It isn't.
No, that's the Mayan War.
Thank you. That one.
It's pretty.
Galaxia.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's a big change, right?
I think the one that also is like sort of like surprising things to me was just in a slightly negative way was going out there and seeing like how much money is put into Burning Man.
Hey, we don't like to talk about the money.
Because I feel like at the Renegade Burn, everything was very like DIY, janky.
People weren't spending that kind of money to go out there for an unorganized camping trip where
Exactly.
you can't fucking burn shit.
Some camps, I can tell, have like a $50,000 acrylic panel budget.
I think this next year is going to be kind of different.
Yeah, I'm hoping like that the culture trends in a way like away from like the ridiculously expensive flashy stuff, just because I don't know, I enjoy the jankier art that you can tell has a lot of soul and passion in it.
You should come volunteer.
Yeah.
I don't mind art that's like expensive and extravagant, as long as that's not what I think about when I see it.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You don't want to see a giant gold cocaine spoon on Playa?
Actually, I kind of want
yeah,
to.
I kinda want that
that's
too.
fine. If someone wants to do a display of sniffing spoons devices, oh my God, a key in one of those. I kind of love this.
Yeah,
So
that
anyone
is a
wants to-
suggestion that you are welcome to take. Guy who made headless tit sculpture. Who is headless tit sculpture? Who's tits up?
Tits up.
Tits up guy should make Coke spoon.
That's so far out of his milieu.
He's gonna have someone else fabricate it for him.
Are we doing one giant Coke spoon, or are we doing like a display of many Coke spoons?
I would like ones that are at least 6 feet tall and a series of them.
I see.
I want a key. I want a tiny baby spoon. I want like one of those caps at the end of a bottle. I need some variety.
See, I want a pedestal made of Coke spoons of normal size, all welded together. And on top of them, like 3 feet off Playa, is just the biggest gold Coke spoon you can imagine.
How about a billboard that says "need a spoon" and then just tiny, awful, totally bolted onto the billboard little Coke spoons?
What about?
No. You have them screwed in there, and you have a screwdriver that is a different shape than the head of the screws for people to try to take out the spoons with.
What about an arcade of columns, and all of the columns are Coke spoons and glass dicks and syringes and pipes with Brillo pads in them?
You're really taking this to a dark place.
Just call it the Avenue of Bad Decisions.
It's a good concept, but it's not as elegant as a humongous Coke spoon, right?
Or you could have your
Coke is a classy drug. Shooting up between your toes is not classy.
You could also have your giant gold Coke spoon opposite the tiniest gold Coke spoon, and it could be big spoon and little spoon.
Mas o menos.
What is your plan for next year? Same camp, different camp?
This year, I think Teatime's gonna take a pause this year, just because my partner, you know, she's the spirit behind the matcha, and she's decided to go to Italy this year. So
It's fair. You're allowed to go
yeah,
to other
exactly.
places.
And all my friends, you know, I will encourage my friends to go to the Burning Man for their first time, but after they've been, I'm like, I'm not gonna push you to get out there again because I don't want to burn you out.
For me, it's not about burning them out. It's just like, hey, that took effort. Now it's on you.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't want to do it, then fine.
So in 23, our first year's tea time, there was 15 of us, and it was half virgins. So it's, I think, 8 virgins, 7 veterans, and then, I mean, veterans being we'd been there one year before. And then this year we were down to 7 of us. Again, 4 virgins. And I've been very proud of myself for like hand selecting the best versions possible. Never had
that is
any issues, but
like nepotism,
That is a thing you can only say in this culture without getting in trouble.
Nepotism is bad, except for like genuinely, if there are people that you love and you understand that they are already burners, this is how we make our culture better. Like, yeah, it's okay to make the people that you know belong here have an easier time getting here and figuring out that they belong here. It's
the same thing with doing theater.
It's true.
If I already
it's
know that
more
you can
desperate
act
in
and I
theater.
can depend on you, chances are I've got a spot in my show. I am only doing auditions off Craigslist if like I cannot cast someone.
yeah. So, this last year in 2024, brought the theme camp back, and I also brought my first art installation.
How was it?
I definitely bit off a bit more than I should have.
No,
doing both of them.
Your sophomore
First-
year,
First art
Weird.
installation. That's the way it goes.
So yeah, definitely like classic sophomore year doing an art installation and a theme camp. But
Better than an art car.
It made exactly.
I did a fucking art car. Beat that.
Yeah, but I mean, after build week, everything was fine. We really didn't start building till like Saturday, so we didn't finish the art installation until Monday evening, I think.
That actually sounds like a pretty successful art build.
Yeah, I definitely went successful. Of course, there's like things that didn't work on it the way I planned to.
Yeah,
but,
but it was done.
But it was
on
done.
Monday.
Yeah.
That's some art right there.
So for the listener, I could describe perception. It's basically an eye that's 10 feet wide, about 7 feet tall, and
Oh, I saw this.
the perimeter of the eye. So like, I guess you'd say like where like the eyelids are, all lights up with like LEDs that are patterned. And then in the center of the eye is a double pendulum that has a UV light. And then at nighttime, when you spin the double pendulum, there's a UV light that will trace a glowing pattern on the iris of the eye.
This is really
That
gorgeous.
is very cool.
That is so cool. You got to back up so that you see it while it's being swung around. I did not understand that was what was going on when I saw it, but I was fascinated by it.
I'm glad you saw it when it was working, because that was one of the issues that I realized when you have like dynamic art is that, pieces
It
always
breaks.
break. Yeah, people don't always play so gently, but so I did have to like go out there and replace the arms pretty much every night.
It was
but
beautiful.
What did you make the arms out of?
they were just wood. Yeah.
Wood.
Moving wood contraptions
How are they
on the
joined
playa is just
to
the worst.
move wood in that way?
There's like, I put skateboard bearings in them basically. So it's skateboard bearings and then just like a bolt through them. So I'm bringing it to UnScrewz, the Santa Cruz regional, and I'm going to
Great.
replace the arms with, I think, some kind of acrylic. So hopefully it'll be a little stiffer. Yeah.
Titanium even.
Yeah, maybe.
Tungsten arms,
That's
rigid and heavy.
That's incredible. That is like my favorite kind of burner who is like, hey, I went once and now I have a theme camp and I made an art and here's my art car and
And here's it during the day. So there's the iris painting was by my friend Lane. They did a really good job.
Yeah, I don't see art during the day usually. That's nice.
he's in the kitchen. That's great. I don't think I saw it during the day. I
Yeah, that
only
is a
saw it at night.
really lovely piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny because I would tell people like, oh, I brought an installation. Oh, what'd you bring? I brought a big eye, but not the big eye.
The one everyone sees
Yeah,
out there,
not that
up there.
massive one. Just the little
Pretty
big eye.
one.
But it's really cool if you get close up to it.
Exactly.
What was your inspiration for that?
That's funny. People keep asking me like, what was your inspiration for it? And I'm like, I don't really have like a specific inspiration.
Eyes are very attractive.
Yeah, I like eye motifs. I've always thought there's like a cool, it's symbol it's used throughout history and stuff.
I love that with art so much. I feel like there's this retrospective pressure to be like, explain it.
Yep.
Where it's like, but it. That's I just
There was
wanted
a
to
shape
do
in
it.
my head that I had to get out.
Yeah.
My artist statement is I have a very specific kind of OCD.
Like the artist statement of just like, I wanted to do this. This is the it in me that I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about like how to make like some kind of dynamic eye piece for a long time. And then I saw someone doing that double pendulum glowy effect on YouTube. And I was like, that's it. Like, that's how I can make like a really cool eye. And then I like sort of extrapolated like the whole like philosophy behind it, which was basically, double pendulums. It's pretty much pure chaos.
Chaos.
So every person that spins it is getting a totally unique pattern.
Right.
As unique as their iris.
Exactly. So it's the same way like irises are unique. And then also the piece is called perception because I want people to think about like, your perception of the world is as unique as you are. And yeah.
That's such an incredible first piece for you to bring out. That was entirely successful. I swear to God, if I ever make a piece, it's going to be like wood with one screw going off on the side. When people succeed their first year, I'm really blown away.
Thanks. I was really proud of it.
Engineer.
God damn it.
And a lot of help from a lot of amazing people.
I think this year we should bring some deep playa art and just start putting up tweaker lights again. Just bring out a bunch of buckets, put an LED on the top of that bucket, hang it from a stick.
So do you want to bring that out again next year? Do you want to change it? Do you want to do something different?
I have an idea for another installation that I'm in like the process for the honorarium grant for. So
Excellent.
If I don't get the grant, I still might do that project. If I get the grant, I'll obviously do it. But either way, I would like to bring perception back. I'm planning on improving it, and I want to have like the new and improved version. Mm-hmm. So if I were to bring that new installation, I would just have perception at our camp,
Yeah.
which would just make it a lot easier to like check on. Cause
You don't have to like get a mile and a half away from where you live.
yeah, I feel like at the beginning of the week last year, I was, I would like feel this need to like, I got to go check on it, like make sure it's working every night. And then like eventually I was kind of like, if it's broken, it still looks pretty. It's like people don't have to know that it's broken.
Yeah.
You want to see the artwork? Get here on Tuesday.
Exactly.
So what's your project this year?
The idea I have this year is what you guys might call lights on sticks.
Fucking love
Yes.
But this is kind of inspired by, when you're out there and there's like lights way off in the distance, especially when they're higher up, a lot of times they'll look like stars.
or the moon.
And I've always wondered, like, been fascinated by the idea that like constellations, they only look like that constellation to us. If you were to be anywhere else in the world or in the universe, you see a different pattern entirely. And my favorite constellation has always been Pleiades, which is, I don't know if you know it, it's like this little star cluster, this puff of stars that's
It's like one big star and like 5-6 little ones right next to it.
exactly, yeah. So it's inside like the constellation Taurus. That's how you could find it if you know your stars. But I was like thinking about building this one, and then I was reading more about this constellation and like the history behind it, and it's got a very like fascinating mythology around it, where multiple cultures all across the world all have like similar patterns of myths behind it, of it being 7 sisters that are like somehow fled into the sky, and like one sister's missing. So the name of the piece will be like 7 sisters, and then it'll basically just be like starlights on top of really high poles.
Fucking love it.
So you can see what it looks like. So you could go around the playa and be like, the idea is like from the temple, it'll look like Pleiades, how we see it. But then you could go anywhere else and you see like, what does Pleiades look like from that side of the universe?
That is such beautiful thought behind your
Like
Lights on sticks.
but behind your lights on sticks.
Yeah. And then what I also want to add to it is having at each star having like a little plaque or something that tells like a story from a different culture about their own version of where these stars came
How
from.
big is the scale that you're thinking? Like, how far apart are these lights on sticks?
They'd be pretty close together. That's like also the convenient thing about Pleiades is that because it's a star cluster, they are in space like relatively
close.
close together.
Immediately make them into a one thing.
Off the top of my head, they would be about like, I think 20 to 30 feet high, and then within a radius of maybe 20 feet.
Damn, I like it. I think that's incredible.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I mean,
And as much
it's in the idea stage. So we'll see how far we get.
as much shit as I just gave for the sort of like artistic impulse as not necessarily being behind it, like narrative ideas. That's such a beautiful narrative
Thank you.
idea to base your artistic input from.
So I came across a video that was talking about all the convergent stories of the Pleiades and how frequently they're described as 7 sisters, but there's only 6 visible stars. And they think that's because either there was a 7th star that had a dimming event, or there are stars that are now occluding each other from our position.
Yeah. So like I've been reading into it, and there's a lot more than 7 stars in the cluster. There's like over a dozen, I think. With the naked eye, most people can see 6. Some people can see 7 in like really ideal conditions. I think I read that like in ancient Greece, it was like a test for archers. If they could see the 7th star, that means they had like really good eyesight.
That's cool.
I don't know if that's, totally made up or what, But
Accuracy third.
yeah, exactly. It is very just interesting to me how like, all these cultures separately created this idea that like, oh, these were, seven sisters. A lot of times, so I got this book that this Australian Aboriginal woman wrote. They also have like stories about the Pleiades. And a lot of times it's like very similar patterns also of like seven sisters fleeing some man. So a lot of times it's like Orion is like this hunter that's chasing them. I got to read more about these stories and like to really understand them, I think, before I do the project. But yeah, it's very interesting. And I think one of the themes of this art piece would be like about perspective and like cultural perspective as well as like spatial perspective. Depending on where you are in the playa, you'll see a different constellation. And then also you can like read the different stories at the installation itself.
I love this. This is what a cool idea.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, if not this year, I mean, I'm hoping to do it this year, but if not this year, I will definitely bring it at some point.
I like it because it doesn't have a terribly large engineering puzzle to solve. It's fairly straightforward. It's like a lot of work, but it's straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest
impactful.
thing is just figuring out how to make, really tall things that stand up on their own.
Yeah.
I would like, I'll probably end up having to use guy lines. It would be nice if I didn't need guy lines. I was like trying to look into, I don't know, do you guys remember Vanishing Points? I think that was in 2023. It was like, it looked like these giant hairs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that piece because like when you're walking through it, to me, it felt like I was like a flea on like an animal. I mean, those pieces were great because they were like, I think they were fiberglass poles and they were just, from what I understand, they were just like directly mounted on top of some big old earth anchors. So they didn't have any guy lines or anything. So I'd like to figure out something like that, but I might just end up having guy lines.
You could also just use like a 4x4 or 4x6 structural plate and have that bolted down really far and have, a 30-foot long piece of wood that's sunk 7 or 10 feet in the ground under that.
Yeah.
They'd let you get away with that.
The only thing I'd worry about is something that's thin enough and rigid enough to be that high up and hold its
Tube steel.
relative position.
Yeah, I got to do some material research, but ideally it would be thin enough that it's not going to be like distracting. Like
Right.
at nighttime, you want the stars to look like they're just floating there, But
You could also fly them on a web from like 4 points.
I've thought about that, but I don't know how I would accomplish that.
Guys,
Yeah, I can see it in my head, but I'm not an engineer.
What would you tell people who are thinking about going for the first time?
I think for the first time, I would definitely advise people to not. I always tell people it's great. The best way to get to go is to be going as part of some kind of project, whether that's like our
Do
installation.
something.
Do something. Like some people say like, oh, your version year, you can just be a spectator. And I guess you can if you want to, but you're kind of missing out on a big part of the event, which is.
I knew I lied to you. That's what
doing
that
something.
is. Like, you shouldn't feel pressured to do something your first year. You can come see it. But if you do want to do something your first year, you're already a burner.
And I would say maybe don't do your own thing because that's putting way too much responsibility.
And you don't know how any of it works.
Yeah, but like I always tell people, if you want to get involved with our installation, wait for the honorarium list to come out, see what ones are getting built near you, and then email them and see if they want help. Like I got to help build Paradisium because I was
awesome.
like, oh, this looks cool. It's getting built in Oakland. And I just would bike over to, American Steel and cut pieces of fence.
I would say the same thing about large theme camps that offer things like baking and space and stuff like that. If you find something that you're like, what this group of people seems to be doing is something I'm really interested in, if you just reach out to them, you'd be shocked how welcome you are in giving into the community and the effort that it takes to put it all up.
And I feel like especially now, I think prior when tickets were very scarce, I think there was a little more skepticism of people like
brand new being like, hey, let me help you.
Yeah, let me help you, but I really just want tickets, you know? But I think now, I mean, if the event continues to not sell out, which I kind of hope it does.
Me too.
Then I think people who, when you're having someone reach out to you being like, hey, I see you're building this thing. Can I come help? You know that they're talking to you just because they want to help and they want to be part of something.
Right. And like, and I say this both to the people reaching out and the people accepting them. If it's wrong, that's okay. It just didn't work. It's not life-threatening. It's not horrible. It's just like, that didn't work.
Also, you should be reaching out in like April through early June. People who are reaching out at the end of July wanting to help.
No, fuck off.
Man, we don't need your fucking help.
Dude, it takes so much more time than that. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I've helped out with a lot of little projects just because, you meet people and helped out with Janky, helped out with another art car. Just they were like, I met these people at First Fridays and they were like talking about how they're building an art car. And I was like, oh, I'll come help weld a bit. But yeah, and one of the things I love about burners, like you show up to a work day and they're like, here's a power tool. Like, let me show you how to do it. But they just sort of like 9 times out of 10, they just like let you have at it pretty much. They give you some
There's
direction.
no like gatekeeping. It's like, thank God you're here. Here's how you do this. Go.
I remember at Paradisian, they had me like sign a waiver. I was like, oh, this is very official.
It makes sense when you're working with like welding and metalwork. It's dangerous.
No, after that, I was like, that's probably a good idea to have people sign waivers.
Well, especially if you're doing it at American Steel, who does want to stay open.
Yeah, I'm really glad I got to work on that project because, I mean, I had never gone to American Steel in its like heyday. It was very interesting. Like, we're building Paradisium. It's the last big project to come out of it. I'm a very small part of that project, but happy to have contributed what I could. But literally as they were like finishing up inside there, the people who had bought the building were like literally just painting the entire interior white. So they're literally just like whitewashing the entire inside.
Get rid of it all.
Yeah, just to I think they're converting it into like some like startup tech space.
Of course they are.
Yeah, good. We need a couple more of those.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would be able to afford lunch.
No, in San Francisco, you can't have lunch.
I have to have, dude. I am at fucking and
You can't
and
have
like
lunch.
I have to try to buy lunch around there.
No, you just can't. You can have like a bag of nuts for $6, or you can have $35 sandwich.
It's a good banh mi though.
Banh mi is the last affordable sandwich, I think.
Not at and the banh mi is $22.
Oh my God.
That is an insult to all
The
of
idea
Vietnamese
of
culture.
some vegetables and tofu on a hoagie. Yeah.
Who are the folks that you think might not know that Burning Man is for them?
I mean, really everyone, right? Like I always tell people like there's something out there for everyone. And I think that so many people, they only see, certain sides of it, whether it's like crazy art or like
The Instagram models.
the Instagram models,
the photos,
the raves.
Yeah.
And like, I'll be honest, I love raves. I love the UnScrewz. But it's so much more than that. And like, I have friends who do not like electronic music and they think that it's just that. And like, no, you're not going to escape the electronic music, but you
don't have to engage with it.
You don't have to engage with it. Yeah.
There's always like several directions in which you can walk where it's not.
And I was like, yeah, so I brought my brother and his fiance to UnScrewz, and they hadn't really been
older, younger brother.
Slightly older. He's a year and a half older than me. And they had like expressed some interest in Burning Man, but it was always kind of like a thing where like, yeah, that's great for you. Like, I don't think I'd ever go out there.
Right.
And then after UnScrewz, when they like saw that it's so much more like, it's just like meeting cool people, having great conversations and just enjoying art. And
Regionals are, hey, friends who are looking how to get your family into Burning Man, take them to regionals. Regionals will fucking do it.
yeah,
Like, I went to a regional before I went to Burning Man, and it was the thing that convinced me that, like, it was worthwhile because the community was nice. So is your brother coming next year?
I don't think he's coming this year. Eventually, I'm going to wait till my family members really want to go to
Right,
bring
you don't
him.
want to, like...
Yeah, that's the thing is
pressure.
I never want to like I've heard too many horror stories of people dragging someone out to Burning Man who doesn't want to go. And, I feel like if you don't want to be there, it is not a great place to be.
I think you're absolutely correct. I have a bunch of friends that I invite, that I offer a lot of support if they ever want to come, but I can't be like, you need to go.
Yeah.
You have to want that from yourself. Otherwise, I don't want to be responsible.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, UnScrewz, I highly recommend it for, introducing people who are maybe skeptical of the culture to it. And It's really great. Have you guys ever been to UnScrewz?
Amazingly not.
I would love to, but it's always during a period of time when my university is producing shows. And
Sells
so
out real quick now, too.
fucking tickets too.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I
But
could probably get us tickets.
All right, I'll go.
I would love to go to UnScrewz. UnScrewz is great.
it's great. It's like what I love about it is it's nearby and it's so easy. Like it's the
UnScrewz-
opposite of Burning Man in that
Yeah.
way.
For folks who don't know, is the Santa Cruz Regional. That is like maybe an hour and a half in traffic.
Depends.
Yeah.
I guess that is the Bay Area's closest regional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's great. It's definitely like much more, I would say, much more family vibes.
In
Definitely
the redwoods, which is they're so fucking pretty.
the new location I don't think has any redwoods, unfortunately. Maybe there's a couple, but
Yeah, it's at their fairgrounds, isn't it? Yeah.
San Benito Fairgrounds, I think. But it's a really just like fun, wholesome event. I feel like it does have a little bit of like classic Burning Man hedonism, but it's mostly much more the like wholesome art family vibes, which is, you know,
That's Santa Cruz all over.
yeah. And it's kind of refreshing going there after going to like Burning Man and similar events where you're like staying up till sunrise and sleep deprived and kind of like fried in a lot of ways. And yet UnScrewz is kind of just like you're just hanging out with a bunch of fun people who are making cool art.
I feel like that's just for the most part, the regional vibe.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
sure there are people who,
so
who
much
go
more
hard, but
Approachable.
Yeah, and there's much less pressure. I feel like when you're at Burning Man, you like there's there's so much to see.
Yeah.
that you sometimes I'll feel like I can't like I feel almost bad like spending too much time at one place because I want to see as much as I can. Especially with the art, it's so hard. Every
You
time.
can never see all of the art. It's
Yeah.
it is genuinely unachievable.
Yeah, this last year I made a concerted effort. I was like, I'm gonna spend less time on the dance floor and actually try to see more art. But then when I look through all the art projects that are out there, I'm like, I saw like maybe a tenth of these.
yeah. Where the hell was that? How could I not have seen that?
That
Like,
was huge.
I was like, I made an effort to see all these, and I missed most of them.
every regional I have been to, there's no point in having FOMO. You like make the circuit once, you're like, well, I think that third one was my bar. And then you go back there.
I went to Critical, which is the Seattle Regional, which is the one that I started at before I went to Burning Man this last year. And, it's like 1,000 people, but like there's only kind of one event at a time. And you can choose to do that event or you can choose to do something else. But it's like you see the same people over and over again. There's this really lovely community building and joke sharing thing that it just can't happen when you are at the size of Burning Man. But there isn't
That's
nearly...
not true because everybody knows that Daft Punk is playing at the Trash Fence at midnight. Everyone knows the man burns on Monday.
We have a couple of jokes, but it's not as fast as when it's 1,000 people.
Larry was buried on Playa and everyone knew it in like 18 hours.
But the art just couldn't be that big because it is in amongst trees and like you can't like make steady foundations for things that people go like up in and you can never get perspective on anything large because it's in this enchanted forest situation. Yeah. If anyone is considering whether or not to go to a regional, go to your fucking regional. Your regional is amazing. That is where you're going to meet the folks that are local to you.
Yeah. Is it going to be the Big Burn? No, not even close. In no way. It will completely fail to be the Big Burn in any way you measure it up to the Big Burn. It will be.
The love burn as fuck.
It will be the coolest party in your neighborhood.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
definitely.
And it's certainly how you're going to meet the folks that you are going to camp with at the Big Burn.
And it's great because you actually meet people. Whereas at Burning Man, you'll like, you'll meet someone, you'll maybe have this like great conversation with them, and then they kind of just like disappear into the dust
Forever.
And
That's all I need.
It's like, was that a person? Was that just a ghost? Have you guys been to Soak?
A couple times.
Not yet. I'm hoping to.
Have you met Fry Guy?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. He's one of our neighbors in the village. He's this amazing dude. He always cooks just like tons of food. I think he's somehow connected to Tuna Guys.
Then he is a mensch.
But he like will just bring this giant like propane wok and fryer, and like every night he's just like cooking up something amazing. The best person to have in around camping near you, because you don't have to make your own dinner. He's just cooking.
What brought you up to the Portland regional?
So I actually have not made it to Soak.
Okay.
Fry Guy's from Portland area, so he was pitching it to us, and he was like, "You got to come up." We got tickets in, what is this, 2023? Yeah,
You had tickets to Soak and didn't go?
So we went to Soak. We were driving up, got about halfway there, just outside of Weed, California. So like literally like halfway, 7 hours from the bay, out of 15-hour drive.
From Portland, still. Yes.
Still so far away, but just outside of Weed, we hit a deer and it totaled my Subaru.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you were a lesbian.
Exactly. Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hit the deer. The deer didn't make it. The cart didn't make it.
Was it still alive when you got out? Was it like dying?
Yeah, it was dying.
Best case scenario is that the deer didn't make it.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid you got to take that responsibility on yourself.
Yeah. But we eventually like, it was a little scary. I mean, it was very scary. Like, luckily, like we didn't crash or anything. Elizabeth and I were both totally fine. But we like eventually got cell service and was able to like call a tow. They tow us back into Weed, but because Memorial Day weekend, every motel is totally full. So
Why are people vacationing in Weed?
exactly.
Just
You know why.
away.
So there's nowhere for us to stay, but then we're like, well, we have all of our camping gear. So we set up our camp in the tow yard.
Nice. That's fucking great.
You had a lovely little regional for two.
Exactly. And then the next morning there was a U-Haul across the street. So we walked across the street and then rented a U-Haul, put all our stuff in it, just left the car there. I mean, it was already a salvage title. And like, I just knew it was a goner. Like there was no chance. But,
Hitting a deer at speed is that's no joke.
so we took the U-Haul back down to Oakland, and then, on the way there, or on the drive home, we're like, so we were thinking about like, could we just take the U-Haul up to Soak and just like keep it going? We'll have this insane story. But then for whatever reason, like crossing the state line in the U-Haul was going to make it way more expensive, and like doing multiple days, it would have been like 3 times as expensive as just going back to Oakland. So like, okay, like I already have to start saving for a new car. So let's not do that. But we went down to Oakland, and on the way there, we were like, we saw that Lightning in a Bottle was doing Sunday passes for like the first time ever, and all of our friends were down at Lightning in a Bottle. So we spent the night in Oakland, and then like early in the morning drove down to Lightning in a Bottle and surprised all of our friends. So one of my favorite stories, just because it was like one of the best, like making the best out of a really shit situation. But yeah, it was
I remember my 20s. That's nice. That's nice for you.
yeah. Soak is still on the list of like events that got away, but I want to get up there eventually.
And we're back. And that was Caleb,
Boy, howdy. We are
Camp Daddy.
Camp Daddy.
Beth,
Yes.
as our resident Camp Zaddy, although Caleb is an unofficial Camp Daddy, what is it like being an official Camp Zaddy?
I mean, it's not like official.
That's only because you haven't gotten your sash and badge of office back from the cleaners.
Getting the opportunity to be the person who's planning for a camp, who gets to hold a lot of the bigger structure of a camp in your head with the intention of making it nicer for the folks who camp there, is really kind of lovely. For me. Now, I would have hated it when I started burning, but now, I don't know. It's such a fun challenge, and it's deeply rewarding to me. I like it. It's like, oh, I get to like positively and fairly directly affect my community, which isn't really an opportunity you get that much.
Until you're middle-aged.
I was going to say outside of capitalism, but yeah.
We can both be right.
Yes, we are both right. Yeah, no, I would have had no idea how to community this well until I had done a bunch of learning about people and how to collaborate and like how I like working with people. And then to have such an insane opportunity where I can impact what we're doing so much just by doing it the way that I am invited to do it. So yeah, it's fucking great. That part is great. The paperwork is more annoying than that part. And the paperwork is a lot more time than that part.
Well, good news. We're working on that.
Well, thank you for your service to the community, Beth. And thank you, listeners, for listening to another fabulous episode of Accuracy Third. And now that you've heard all about Caleb for the better part of an hour, I challenge each and every one of you to either email us or join our Discord and give our friend Caleb a motherfucking playa name.
Bellac. Sometimes your name backwards is your playa name.
The Bellac is pretty great. Caleb? Bellac?
Bellac.
Listeners, you got something better than Bellac? Let us know. Accuracy Third is produced by us three brilliant individuals. The music in this episode is Sacred Cancer by me, Rex.
Early May, Bobby Joe, Ebola, and the Children McNuggets playing special Gerlach show.
Oh, fabulous. Well, if you're going to be in Gerlach in early May, you may get the chance to see Bobby Joe, Ebola, and the Children McNuggets.
With special guests.
With special guests, people of Gerlach.
Hey, also, the best way for you to support us isn't through money on Patreon, although that is incredibly agreeable.
Thank you, Patreon.
The best way to support us if you're not wealthy
is to come be on the show. Or, if you've already been on the show, encourage your dear good friends to come be on the show. The show is just your stories, and without you, there is no show. So please, if you've been a listener for years and haven't come on the show, shame on you. Just
kind of
shame.
like, even if you think your stories are just like someone else's stories, maybe we can pick that apart. Won't it be an interesting time to hang out with us while we try to figure out why you're just like everybody else?
I don't know, guys. I went to this podcasting convention and they didn't say nothing about shaming your listeners into participation. I don't think this is the right kind of call to action. Hit us up in our inbox, accuracy3rd@gmail.com.
I thought you were going to say something to our pay pigs, but fine. If you've dropped that bit, yeah, I guess you can email us.
The pay pigs know what they've done and they know how to make it right. It's by loading us up with their disgusting money. They don't need it. What are you going to do with it? You going to buy another Tesla so people on the streets can hate you more?
I flipped off a Cybertruck today in San Francisco so hard. And you know what? They couldn't get away from me because they were stuck behind a Waymo. I just rolled past them in your Leaf with my middle finger up and my arm fully extended out the window, going like 3 miles an hour. It was glorious. If you would like to see us on Playa, we will be having a Playa party this year on Wednesday during event week at 2 p.m. at the DPW Bar and Saloon at Burning Man.
What?
No.
What do you mean no?
No.
Still no?
No?
Yeah.
All right.
it.
We'll be at the Black Hole.
No. We don't know where we're going to be.
We will take over Lamplighters in a corner respectfully if they will let us again.
That was a really nice spot
It was
to do
a
it. Is
very
all
nice
I'm
spot.
Just saying.
We all appreciated it an awful lot.
Unless you, listeners, have a big old camp with a big old venue that wants to host our party full of weirdos. And you know what? For next year, for the 10th anniversary in 26, we should have the party right in open Playa. No shade. Just a suffer party.
I am down for that.
Bring your parasol.
I hate you all.
Oh, I'm Beth. I'm too white. Burnernarc.com.
It's just...
It's getting awfully Babaloo-y.
All right, are we good? We good? Did
Yeah,
we
we're
get
good.
one?
We got
got one and some Patreon shit.
I have watched the garden descend into wilds. I no longer feel raging and terrified. I no longer feel like I am just a child.
So potentially this new big art project next year, are you going to go with the same camp? Are you going to continue to lead this group of folks?
I think I've offered everyone who's been in Teatime, like, hey, if you want to join the art build, you're welcome to camp with me in the art support camp. I don't know how many of them are interested in going this next year. I think a lot of them have travel plans. I think especially with people in my age bracket, there's a lot of time off work issue. There's the financial
The whole
issues.
fucking money thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Burning Man is for the olds.
Yeah.
It definitely hasn't always been that way, but I feel like
It has always.
has it always been that way?
Yeah.
you think?
Always been that way.
Yeah.
I have aged my way in.
It is like a frustrating thing to me because I talk to so many young people who are like the cool, artsy, punk young people who you would want to have at Burning Man.
Yeah, but they're not the old, weird, naked guy at Burning Man. You need to be old and weird to be that naked guy.
Well, welcome to the team of recruiting that young, weird person and letting them know that this is for them.
But there's also so many misconceptions that you hear from people, like especially a lot of like the media around Burning Man has like lately especially been focusing on like the richest of the rich that attend there.
Yeah.
Which gives the impression that like, oh, Burning Man has now become for like millionaires and tech bros and stuff. But it's like,
It always was.
but also, and it's like,
we build it for them.
And it's still totally attainable for somebody who has very modest means.
Yeah.
As long as you moderate your expectations. Like,
yeah, I always tell people like, it's, if you want to have a comfortable time out there, it's going to cost a lot of money. But in my opinion, you shouldn't be going out there to have a comfortable time out there.
Yep.
It's
it is
supposed to be challenging.
It is cheaper than going to a national park for a week. You're camping for a week at any campground, you're going to end up spending more money than you spend going to Black Rock City.
Especially with the Ticket Aid program. Like, I think that's also, people just don't know about that. But
That was how I went my first 2 years. Was
yeah, a lot of my friends have gone it.
Yeah, if you are a young artist who wants to go just to go, you can get a discount ticket. All you have to do is tell them that you need it and what art you do.
Also, if you apply to bring an art installation, you could get free tickets. I think people don't know that either.
So the thing that people don't know, that is the hardest thing to do, though, is if you start volunteering, that's the cheapest way to go. If you give a bunch of your time, you can get free tickets. Eventually, you can have support outside of you in staff camps. And ultimately, if you are DPW in certain people, you can get a contract, a short-term contract to be paid to be out there.
Yeah.
But the largest wealth disparity that we have, the poorest fucking people who go to Burning Man are the DPW folks that get paid and the volunteers that are going with free tickets because of the work that they give. It's not a flawless system. But if you are a young human being who would like to go and it's too fucking expensive, that's a way to start thinking about it.
You can also get paid to go if you join the Pershing or the Washoe County Police Department. They'll pay you to go there.
Bureau of Land Management
Yeah.
Park Rangers.
You want to be a fucking bootlicker and get paid to work at Burning Man, you can.
Maybe the DEA.
Maybe.
You want to actually be a burner narc?